right, so let's move on from the Super Cup excitement and talk about the Virsliga. Obviously, Supernova got relegated last year and did not come back on a technicality this time. And so we have Grobiņa. Grobiņa is a club just outside of the city of Liepaja. And basically, them being in Virsliga now gives us another derby, the Liepaja derby, which is not just a geographical encounter, it's also an ideological encounter.
Okay, well, for what reason is it an ideological encounter?
Right, I'm glad you asked. So Liepaja Football Club has become very frustrating to the local fans in the recent half a decade because they fully ignore local academy players, which is not how Liepaja football used to be traditionally, and the city is very known locally for producing high quality players.
Who's the best player that's come out of Liepaja?
Verpakovskis.
Okay. Right.
The top scorer, Latvian legend.
Yeah.
So you have that. But with the change of ownership in 2016-ish, essentially they're wholesale importing foreign players. And that is very frustrating if you're someone who loves football from Liepaja.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. I think you want to be as competitive as possible, and it's important to blend a mix of local talent who can learn with international players.
Definitely. But there's also a tradition with Liepaja that it's kind of people from Liepaja play in Liepaja Football Club, whichever is the name of the Liepaja Football Club.
Kind of Bilbao vibe with basketball.
A little bit, so yeah. And they had this big derby with Ventspils traditionally, and Ventspils, of course, now is in the second division. But Grobiņa, even though it's a town on the outskirts of Liepaja, but I mean, it's literally there's a bicycle path leading to it, so it's walking distance basically.
Yeah, okay.
They have a diametrically opposed approach, and on top of that, they are part of the Liepaja football school. So in essence, the Liepaja academy players, they are now funneled into Grobiņa, not to Liepaja. So the Liepaja derby is going to be a clash of ideologies between a foreign player-focused team and a local player-focused team, and that's very, very exciting.
Very interesting. So it could hopefully work as a good commercial model for the team a little bit, player development and so on, if they can stay up.
It's not as extreme. There will be some players from Liepaja on loan at Grobiņa.
Yeah.
But by and large,
what's the distance between on a bicycle?
I don't know. I never cycled, and we should have asked our other new member Gustavs because he's from Liepaja. But with car, it's like 7-8 minute drive.
I will take my bike I will cycle from the city centre of Liepaja to Grobiņa.
For what reason? They're going to play in Liepaja.
Will they not play once in those 3 games?
No, Grobiņa will be playing in the same home ground as Liepaja.
Okay, right. Like the
so you can go there.
Okay,
but
yeah.
Exactly, right. And that's funny you mentioned that because Grobiņa's new kit, which at this point has not been released officially, but I've seen a bit of a leak. It looks very much Inter Milan.
Okay, right. There we go. There's a connection. It's going to be an interesting year or so for the city. It's going to be the European capital of culture as well. So there's going to be a few different things happening there. I will definitely be visiting for the derby.
Same.
At some point. I'm not sure which game. There's one in May, one towards the end of the season.
There's one in April.
One in April. Might miss that one, but
I mean, there's 4. So
go for a long weekend. It should be exciting. I think they'll be better than Supernova.
Oh yeah.
In terms of team unity and so on. And I've got some statistics from last season. The number of goals were decent. They scored a lot and didn't concede many. They finished second though, which is a little bit disappointing. Hopefully there'll be Did they?
No, they finished first.
They finished first. Sorry, my bad. Okay, I obviously went on the wrong web page.
I don't know what web pages you go to.
I was on maybe Transfer Market and looking at the previous season.
No, I think they finished first, and I think then second was like Riga Reserves or.
Okay. So
we don't know. It's the second division.
Yeah, I saw some website, which I thought was reliable,
Yeah.
gave me the wrong finishing. So my stats on goals might have also been incorrect.
So they're here, definitely worth keeping an eye on. Should be a very interesting squad. Should be something akin to what Jelgava was last year, coming in to the top flight with a team of homegrown players. Very much less emphasis on individual personalities and more on the squad cohesion. Jelgava will not have that this year as much.
I think Jelgava loaned some good players last season as well. They had a couple of decent signings. Haven't really seen them signing, Robin. I haven't really seen them signing many players this season. I've got maybe 3 on loan at the moment.
Yeah,
but I'm not totally convinced. I think they'll be in a relegation battle. But
all right.
We'll see.
We'll talk about our predictions.
Yeah, we'll talk about our predictions. But I think it's a really exciting addition to the league. FC Auda will be an interesting one, certainly. We'll see where this coach goes. I think he really does affect the league predictions because he's been a fitness coach, player development coach or conditioning coach, then an assistant manager, and now this is his first managerial job. So he's got a lot to prove, and you've seen these coaches and managers coming in before, having never managed. Some can make it, but it's more often than not they don't quite get to the level of being good enough as managers. So it'll be an interesting one. He's got a good backroom staff as well, or he seems to have a lot of Portuguese guys with him, and they've made some interesting signings, particularly Portuguese speaking. So yeah, we'll see on that outcome.
From what little I do know about Auda's preseason is that they do have a very serious and professional coaching team.
Yeah.
What that means in terms of tactics and game development, we'll see. But in terms of him being a fitness and player development coach, that is something that I think is already taking effect.
Yeah, I think it will be nice to see a Portuguese mentality coming to the league as well.
Have a Mourinho on our hands, maybe?
Yeah, you never know.
Well, Auda kicks the season off against RFS, so it's going to be a test for him right out the gates.
What were their pre-season results?
Oh, I don't even know. I mean, we don't know most of the teams they played against. But it wasn't great. Their last game, just now, that was a couple of days ago, against Supernova, they won 1-0.
Okay.
Against Supernova.
Oh, against Supernova. Yeah, so I think they have had some disappointing pre-season. Yeah. But talking of pre-season, it hasn't necessarily been... The results haven't gone that many... The results haven't been that positive for Latvian teams. The Livonian Cup was quite good, but I think the pre-season camps in Turkey and Dubai, Valmiera and Liepaja, were quite disappointing in terms of their results.
Valmiera for sure.
Valmiera, they got a draw against Sheriff from Moldova, who were in the Champions League. They weren't so good against the Ukrainian teams in friendlies and so on. So we'll see. I mean, you can't really determine much from pre-seasons, but it will be interesting to see how they start the league.
Yeah. Pre-season is tricky, especially that the Ukrainian teams in Turkey, where Riga, RFS, Auda, and Valmiera they were kind of further along. So once our teams arrived, the Ukrainian teams were basically ready to leave. So you have that aspect. Of course, it's a strong league, but I mean, Riga got some good results against the South Korean fancy team and
some Middle Eastern teams.
From United Arab Emirates, the one where Iniesta plays.
Yeah,
I thought when I saw his picture, I thought he's coaching because he looks so old and worn.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, are they that good if Iniesta's still playing at like nearly 40 years old?
He looks way older than that.
He looks way older. Yeah, I thought he was a coach, and he's a player coach.
Yeah,
though, right?
He's definitely a player.
Yeah.
So whatever team that is, like United Arab Emirates, United Football Club, I don't know, or just United Football Club, something like. It's not important. Riga had some decent games. The challenger teams to the top 3, not so much, but early days, and we'll see. We'll see how they start. Yeah. And last coaching change is at Jelgava. The Slovakian Josef Skrilik is out, and Valeris Redko, who was an interim coach after Ervin Sperkons resigned last season, is now full-time coach. Interestingly, the Slovakian specialist wasn't sacked because of results. He was sacked because of his philosophy. That he was less interested in local player development and more in terms of getting results, which is how Jelgava even managed to retain their position in Virsliga.
Yeah.
So that concerns me because whilst Redko was an interim coach last season, they had a pretty poor run. So I'm worried that if they stick to their guns, they might not be long for Virsliga.
Yeah, they were certainly a plucky team last season. They were able to go up against. They challenged Riga. They had a solid game.
They won 5-3.
Yeah. So they were a good team, and they were motivated. They were hungry. They had the desire to win. So hopefully they don't lose that. But yeah, we'll see, because I didn't think they were a bad team last season.
No.
They had the ability to defend and transition the ball quickly into attack. So yeah,
very sympathetic. It was this underdog team again. What I said about Grobin, Jelgava was that.
They were one of the most refreshing teams last season. To
and
be
their
honest.
kit is amazing.
if you like bakeries,
or mousse.
Or mousse. Yeah. They have a good. Yeah, okay. They got a good sponsor and a good logo. But they turned up and they were professional, and it was nice to see a team being promoted and challenging the best teams and putting up a good game.
Yeah, it's like do you remember that film from Disney called Miracle about the U.S. Olympic team from 1980 something?
No, you're not talking about core running.
Right. Well, I mean, the idea is that this team of students comes up against the Soviet Union and is victorious, which is what actually happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like this romantic idea of something like that.
Rocky Bilbao as well.
As well.
Yeah.
Bilbao.
Okay, yeah. Talking too much about Basque football,
and I think that's what teams like Jelgava last season and maybe Grobin this season they represent. It will always have a room in the heart of fans. That you don't need fancy players or big budgets. If you and a group of friends who you've grown up with get together and then you're just really good as a team, you can overcome larger things.
I think Jelgava, they're a professional entity. They looked the part and they turned up to be the part. So yeah, I'm a big fan of how they operated last year, and I just hope that the new guy, the new coach who's previously played for them,
he's a local legend.
Has the ability to be a good manager as he was a player.
Yeah, but he did say that he does not favor loaned players, which is a bit of a red flag for me right away. Not that I don't disagree ideologically with him, but there's realities of Latvian top flight that you have to, acknowledge. Yeah,
you want the best football for the fans, and I think sometimes you get a lone player from a bigger team that can, create some exciting football. There's players from different countries bring a different approach to the game, and I think that's a really exciting part of this league, seeing players from all over the world that can come in and play with a certain skill. Like as a Brit, even when I play football here, there's I've got a bit more of an aggressive, physical approach to my style of playing. I think you need that in a league. You need to, introduce players from all over the world, particularly for to get the national team up to a good standard. Players need to experience loanies and as well as the local all the youth players.
Plus, we don't have that many people. You can't have a city like Jelgava, which is, I don't know, like 50, 60,000 people being fully self-sufficient in terms of... Plus, football is not even the number one sport in Latvia.
Yeah.
So that's the realities of Virsliga. It's a high-level competition, but in not a particularly populous country where football is not. I mean, it's the number one youth sport, but there's many challenges that we can go on and have gone on different episodes. So you just.
Yes, it's economics. Lonely players, sometimes a club can't quite afford the wages, and they can attract a talent that will expect a higher wage from his parent club and be loaned out to a club that isn't making enough money to pay for those players.
Basically, the business model of Tukums.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
And it's not our judgment. That has been acknowledged by the chairman in an interview that they get some money for U21 or U23 Latvian players from this pot that the Virsliga has. They have their academy players and then they loan players from larger clubs that they wouldn't be able to afford.
And I think that you need players. You need players to fight for their places in squads.
Yep.
Like you want to see competition, and on the pitch, you want to see players that are hungry, motivated, have got desire to win the ball, and get to the ball first. And if there's not enough competition in a squad, you'll get a lower motivated team.
Yeah. So that's coaching changes in Virsliga. We'll see how it gets on. Last season, very stable season. Not many changes. I don't really foresee anything being different this season, to be honest. I don't think Redko will stay too long, though, but we'll see. So, let's talk about predictions.
Okay, right. So, predictions. Who is going to go first then?
I think you go first.
You want me to go first?
Yes.
So I feel I'm a little bit of after today's game and seeing the exciting players from Riga FC, some of the new signings, and their ability to work as a squad. I'm having a bit of a struggle in a element of turmoil on who's going to
go with your gut.
Go with my gut. Okay, so I'll start at number 10, right?
Sure, go for it.
I think Grobina are going to. They're going to struggle. I don't think they've signed enough players ultimately, but we'll see. We'll see on the outcome. Then following that, Daugavpils. I think that they've got the youngest squad according to transfermarket.com. But
we'll find out once it's official, but they are likely to have that, yeah.
They've got a very large squad, a lot of under 20s Latvian national. Well, not a lot, but quite a few. So you never know, a star might come through. They've just made 2-3 loan signings as well. So I don't fancy them, but that said, they're a tough team, difficult place to go. Furthest distance for any travelling team on a bus. So I think they might get lucky with some home games. Number 8, Meta. I think you never know with Meta. They've got an all right manager that knows how to work his players. Unfortunate to live not far from their training, and you see them doing the late shift sometimes if they've had a bad result. So we'll see with Meta. Number 7, Jelgava. I don't think I'm not sure about their manager. And their signings this season. I think they need a few more players. Number 6, I think Tukums. But from between 6 and 10, it's going to be a really interesting battle this year.
Same as last year.
Yeah.
Well, 6 and 9, I suppose.
Yeah, I think Tukums have made some exciting signings. I think that they're sometimes a bit reliant on one player in particular, but they've got some good strikers this season, so they should score goals. What they'll be like defensively is another. We'll see, another conversation.
That's not their thing anyway.
Yeah. So moving up then, because I can talk about all the teams quite a lot later as well. We'll see how we go when you've said yours. But I think number 5 is going to be Auda.
Right.
A little bit controversial. I don't think the manager's going to. I question the manager, but we'll see. They have done some really exciting signings. They've got some good players. Ramirez. I think we've maybe 2 of them are in our players to watch this season.
We'll get to at least one.
At least one. So yeah, Auda a bit hit and miss, but it's going to be a battle basically between Liepaja and Auda. So I put number 4 Liepaja.
That's ambitious.
And I originally put them number 3. I think
Wow.
Tomasz is. I think he's a good motivator, and I think he's signed some players that have won the league before at Valmiera. Full, the Georgian chap, and
Sulagadze.
couple of players who've got experience in this league, and he's got depth in his squad. He's got a lot more players than he had last season. I think he had injury issues last season. So
You know what Jurdis Kauns, the Valmiera gaffer, said about this signing? Because it's Foul, it's Carmani, and it's Sulagadze.
Yeah.
At least said, if you can't beat Valmiera, become Valmiera.
Become Valmiera. Yeah. I think I was a big fan of Full, but he had a really bad season last season. So there's a few players in that squad that need to redeem themselves. So and they've got some good flair players as well. But we'll talk about that a bit later. Number 3, Valmiera. I think they've got players that can really switch on and change the game. They've got the great striker Gaia, who hopefully he got unlucky last season with injuries. He's a solid scorer. They've got a young Brazilian guy, Gustavo. He should come through this year a little bit more, and quite a solid defence. They made a lot of mistakes. The wing-backs made quite a few mistakes. And the goalkeeper...
Well, they signed a new wing-back.
The
Brazilian-Japanese guy.
Yeah, Brazilian. Yeah, whether he'll get in the squad early doors, we'll see. And the goalkeeper will be a big test for Valmiera as well. They kept trying to play a passing game from the goal onwards. He got caught out quite a lot last season, so he needs to. Yeah, hopefully he can get his act together if he does start. Riga FC number 2,
Good.
and RFS
Where they belong.
number 1. Which I might end up changing halfway through the season.
Yeah, we'll see if we do that. But
Yeah, I think Riga FC have got some really good talent, but they have been a team with a lot of individuals who have had an inability to gel as a squad, and we saw it today a little bit where there was too much individualism within the team, but when they did work together, they could have taken on any team and won. And yeah, number 1 RFS. Really good unit, outstanding at set pieces. They've got a lot of pre-season goals from set pieces this year. They've got some good players. They've got a few weak spots though, RFS.
yeah.
I'm not quite... I question their striker,
Oh yeah.
the number 22, and they've got players that can just switch off and make some errors. But that said, they've got some of the best talent, young talent as well. So yeah, for now, RFS to win.
All right.
But I'm 50-50 on that, so it could be anyone.
I mean, it's, we're making predictions for 9 months ahead, obviously.
Yeah.
So much will happen. And I think it will depend a lot on how RFS get on in Europe.
Yeah.
And if they get on well, then they will probably finish maybe not even second. We've seen that happen before. So there's a number of factors. All right. No, that makes sense. Mine are a bit different. I have Daugavpils in number 10.
Right.
I think they lost key players, and they're recruiting now. But I have my doubts about that particular squad. I think with Virsliga, so last year we talked it got a little bit weaker outside of the 2 teams.
Yeah.
I think it's getting stronger again. And I think the Daugavpils will be on the receiving end of that. I have Meta in their traditional number 9 position because some traditions don't change.
Yeah,
you have to respect that, and it seems that they do wholeheartedly.
I mean, they put up such a good performance against Valmiera last season at home. Like they were impressive.
They had good start of season.
They've lost their key playmaker to Valmiera.
I'm sure they'll find a way to get to 9th spot regardless of how they start.
Yeah.
And that's fine with them, it seems. Then I have Jelgava in number 8.
Okay.
I think they lost many key players who have gone on, which is sort of the point, of raising local talent. They went on to larger teams. There's Pateičuks and Liepaja, for example. But this whole no loan players approach, I think, is really shooting yourself in the foot. As I said, the realities of Virsliga.
You really think they're not going to loan any? I think they will loan 1 or 2 players.
The coach is adamant. His position is that I do not want any because that means I can't play them, 4 times a season.
It's a big risk. It's a big risk. I think.
But is it though 4 times? That's not.
No, not taking on loan players.
That is
like this. It's a tough league because it's a difficult league because you've got the weather and the conditions, and players do get injured quite a lot, particularly when
it's long
there's a transition of moving on to grass and so on as well. And it's a hot summer as well.
Yeah. Then I have Grobenia in number 7.
Okay, wow, you're really confident. Yeah.
Well, actually, I had them in number 6 up until the last moment because for the last 2 seasons, the newly promoted team finished number 6. It was Tukums 2 years ago, and it was Jelgava last year.
Right.
Of course, you have Supernova the year before that, who finished last, but who's looking that far back? But then Tukums started really getting very strong loaned players from Riga and RFS, and so I moved Tukums up to number 6. Grobenia is number 7. I just think that the squad will be exciting and romantic, but it will lack the punching power that,
Yeah, there's a lack of information, really. I've not been able to source too much on them. They're a little bit shy on social media, so... Yeah, that's why they're my last team, but we'll find out.
We will. Then I have Liepaja. I just have zero confidence in that particular team. They are as high for me as they are simply because they have quality players. So I'm not even... I just don't see a system of play there. It just feels like 11 players on the pitch doing their thing.
No, I think they've got some good attacking flair. They've got some exciting players that can.
So that's what I'm talking about. They have players, but they don't have a system. And maybe I've been following RFS for too long, but I feel like system is pretty key.
I think they've got good counter-attacking football and they press high. They can push up the pitch quite well. Liepaja.
So we'll see. I have Aude in number 4. Very much concerned about this new coach, but they do have Riga behind them.
Yeah.
So they might swap coach, they might get some more players from Riga. Aude is just, it's this kind of a sneaky team in the shadows that you never know might pounce on you when you least expect it.
Yeah, I think they've got players that they've got players that are better than the teams in the lower table, basically.
They're very good players.
And
little rotation. Plus Ramirez staying, obviously depending on what will be the scheme for the new coach. But Ramirez was our striker in the best 11 last year.
Yeah.
Despite not being the top scorer, he's a very interesting, very sneaky, very intelligent player. And as we know, foreign players do tend to open up more in the second season in Virsliga, so I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I think they've got a good style of play. Although last season they had a good style of play and they were quite consistent. They did have a couple of bad defeats though. They conceded a few goals, and that's why I'm not so convinced with Riga FC. They had some hairy moments last season. So.
Sure, and of course the coach is now in Riga. So.
Yeah.
Then I have Valmiera. I think they're going to start their annual 1 place per season climb to the championship again. Team is rebuilding. They seem to be strong. Team spirit is high from the videos that we've seen.
Team spirit's high, but their whether they have the motivation this season, whether they have the desire to really want to win games and win the ball and so on. I think that was a lagging problem last season. The players didn't look like they were always up for it, and hopefully
there's also a horrific run of injuries last year.
There was a horrific run of injuries, but they didn't always seem up for it.
Well, I sense they're gonna start becoming more of an issue for the top two teams.
Yeah.
And they do have some very, very promising unknown players. Like there's this, so one Japanese player we mentioned, Carlos Duke. There's another one for whom this will be his first professional experience.
Yeah.
And last time there was a player like that, he now plays in Belgium.
Yeah, but I mean, he's very young. He looks like he could just be, literally pushed off the ball with a finger. So I'm not convinced by it. I think he's still too young, and it will take him a season. I think he'll be a bench warmer and maybe playing for Valmiera too.
Yeah.
It's difficult to measure and see, but physically he doesn't quite look up for the league yet. Particularly at this, the start of the season when it's a bit tougher.
That was a problem with Nagasawa from RFS last season. He was just too frail.
Yeah, but then he went to Jelgava or Tukums. He went to Tukums and he wasn't too bad. He's got a good technique.
Gain a bit more, muscle mass. They're very young. They're children basically.
Yeah.
And then I have Riga FC number 2 position. I had them, I admit, number 1 for most of my predictions.
Okay.
Up until a recent interview that gave insight into the runnings of the club and the relationship between the sporting side and the administrative side. And I don't think that's productive or conducive to anything where administration feels entitled to get involved into the sporting side.
Yeah, today you could see these problems. They've got too many players. Last season they didn't know their starting 11. This season I don't think they know their starting 11. The players that came on today made a big difference and changed the dynamic of the team.
But did they do it by implementing the scheme of Olakari? I don't think so. I think they came on and did the individual skill thing from last season.
Yeah, a little bit. I think so. I just think Riga FC have got too many players. They've got a team where the players are all quite equal in terms of talent, and they just don't know who to play and who not to play.
Well, they'll be sure to offload some to Aude before the season starts.
Yeah, or maybe Paphos as well. They seem to have a rotation system.
Like Contreras went on loan to Paphos, not because of any reason other than Paphos needed a striker, and because they're in the same family. There we go.
It's fair enough. But yeah, I think they need to reduce their squad numbers maybe a little bit, but we'll see. And
I have RFS as number 1, but it's similar to last year. It might come down to a point, and it's heavily contingent on how RFS get on in Europe.
Yeah, and I think if RFS get hit with a few injuries, if something what happened with Valmiera last season, if that happens to RFS, they'll be in trouble. I think they're more immune to that because they have more of a system of play. Okay, yeah, they've got a couple of players that can really make a difference in games, and if they lose them, they might be in trouble. But I might be wrong here. Yeah.
Nobody knows what the future holds, but these are our predictions. I'm happy. We have the same top 3. Yeah. But beyond that, there's quite a bit of difference, which is great. We'll see how what will happen. Last season, I convincingly was righter in my predictions.
Oh, you're correct.
Eric's.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed we've got the same, and maybe one of us should have switched 1 and 2, but we'll see. Hopefully Valmiera will just go away and win it, and I'd rather be wrong with my prediction. I
think the only way that happens is if both Rigas end up in conference or Europa League and Conference League group stages.
Yeah.
And Simo Volakari will still get sacked because he didn't win the Virsliga.
Yeah, well, they'll get the Aude coach in anyway, so it's never a problem. They've always got someone on the bench.
Oh yeah, you just feel someone breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
So that's our prediction.